What's going on, guys? How you doing? I got another Devo for you today, and this one is really about the story of when Jesus walks on water and Peter gets out of the boat and walks to Jesus on water. And what's interesting about this story is Peter sees Jesus walking on water, and he says, "Lord, if that's you, tell me to walk on water towards you." And Jesus calls Peter to walk on water. He says, "Come." So Peter gets out of the boat. He walks on water. Like, this is like something that I think we really need to grasp in our own lives is Peter walks on water, and like he starts walking, and then all of a sudden the Bible says he notices the wind and he becomes afraid. He sees the wind, and he's seeing all this stuff, and he becomes afraid, and he starts to sink. And Jesus pulls him up and says, "Why did you doubt? You have little faith." Like, why did you doubt? And it's interesting because you can understand what Jesus is saying. That it's almost like Jesus is saying, why did you doubt? You were walking on water. Because like when you look at this, like Peter was like probably like 3/4 of the way to Jesus, and he started doubting 3/4 of the way of walking on water. And you look at that and you think, man, the time for Peter to doubt, in my mind, it probably should have been in the beginning, like when you think about it. It probably should have been, oh man, I've never walked on water before. Let's test this out and see. No, he just like jumps out of the boat, starts walking on water because he knew Jesus called him to do it. He knew that he was going to walk on water if Jesus called him to do it. But as he's walking, he starts to see the external things. He starts to become afraid of the wind and like all these external things, and he loses focus on Jesus and what he told him to do. And he starts to succumb to the external things around him, when all the while he's standing on water. And I think that's important for us to really grasp in our own lives, that these faith journeys, these faith walks that God calls us to, sometimes it's easiest to just jump out of the boat in the beginning when we know Jesus called me to do this and I'm going to go do this. And then it's like we see the miraculous happen. We're walking on water. And then we start to fatigue. We start to get tired, 3/4 of the way to the promise. And we start to like see the opinions of man and like all these external things and get fearful. And we start to sink because we're losing focus on Jesus, losing focus on the faith which we were originally called by. And I think it's important for us to recognize that sometimes the hardest times of faith are like 3/4 of the way of the walk to the promise, or when we're almost there. That's when it can be hard. And I think of another verse that says, don't grow tired or don't grow weary in doing good. Like keep pushing on in faith. And I think that's really what we can gain from this story too, is that we need to just keep fighting in faith, but from a position that recognizes that, hey, I'm actually currently standing on water. I have actually taken 10 steps on water because Jesus called me to do it. And I've seen him sustain me through those 10 steps. I see him sustaining me right now. I'm standing on water. He's going to sustain me the rest of the way. So literally in our faith walks, I just want to encourage us all to focus on Jesus the entire time. I know there's opinions, there's all these external things that try to get at us sometimes, but I just want to encourage us to focus on Jesus and to remember the testimonies. Remember the steps we've already taken, and just to keep walking forward. All right, we'll see you guys.